Alright, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of my Dark Knight Reboot series. So, today we're going to be looking at the Awakening line, and I put in all my skills, made the setup again, or the preset, because they reset it after the whole update. So, if you haven't caught the Succession video, check that out. I'll leave like something on the screen, and you should go check that out. So, basically, what's changed is we got some more cool stuff to play around with. And, as you guys know, Awakening actually does use a lot of skill points. And I'm pretty much maxed out with the exception of the Absolute Corrupt Ground, but that one's so irrelevant. It's like the last thing you really want to get. So it's kind of shocking that you need about like 2750 skill points to max out everything, but it's like you don't really need it. You don't really need Corrupt Ground. So ultimately, to get the core skills that you need are a little bit less bad. But if you're playing Succession, you definitely don't even need like 2000, but Awakening you probably need a few more. But anyway, as what we're gonna do, the same thing as last time, we're gonna read off the patch notes. You guys can read them as well. And we're going to be looking at all the new skills they changed for Awakening this time, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions. So, yeah, let's start off with the new thing. They added a new flow for Awakening, which is Darkness Outpouring. So, basically, when you... I think it's been a while since I've played, but it's like that. It's a lot of movement in one go, so... I'll show you, like, all the skills. We'll read off all the changes. Then I'll show you the add-ons I picked for Awakening. And then we'll go over gear, which is mostly the same as the Succession one. But just to go over it again, we'll do that at the end. And, of course, in the future videos, we'll be doing, like, Battle Arena, RBF, and all the stuff just to showcase it. And I'll give you my opinions once I have more time to test that in the future. So... with that said, the new flow, I think it's pretty cool. It's a lot of stuff happening in one go, so I assume you're doing that. It's not protected, I don't think. It has a forward guard, but I don't know. Your range, it should be fine in theory. Alright, so looking at the patch notes now, let's see what they changed. Twilight Dash can be activated in the direction of the camera angle. What? Never knew that was an issue. I thought that's always how it worked, to be honest. So. Alright, cool. Touch of Exploitation 1 to 4. So, attack damage increased, last attack hit increased, forward guard during the skill. So before the forward guard was only when you had the core skill of it. Now they just give you forward guard because they realize no one really used this ability. It looks cool though. Oh yeah, as always, let me turn up the effects so you guys can see it at 100. I personally play with 30 just because I don't really care to see that as much. But it does look nice. Dark Knight abilities are very flashy. Change the speed of motion for a Touch of Exploitation as well. Increased attack range is cool. Improved comboing into another ability. So, in my opinion, or the last time I played Awakening, this wasn't really like a used skill as much. I mean, like, you would put it into your rotation as a filler, like when everything else is on cooldown. Then you would use that. But it's not like one of those main core things, so it's not like if you don't max it out, it's probably fine. Next thing they added, the flow, Root of Catastrophe. It went from 11-second cooldown to 8.5, and you get super armor. That's good. So basically, the way this works is like that, more or less. So, yeah, Shift E. Very cool. So basically, less cooldown, more super armor. Always good to know. Seed of Catastrophe non-flow. It went from 9-second cooldown to 8-second cooldown. That's it. That's good, I think. Next thing they changed, Grip of Drudge. I remember not using this one. One, because it was 45 CP or skill points back in the day, and it wasn't really that useful. Now what they did was it went from 988% damage times 8 to 1251 times 9, and they increased the attack range. That's really still not good enough for me to want to use it, but, I mean, it's there if you need it. So, yeah, the idea of this was mostly to, like, I guess pull the enemies in, more or less, and recover MP, which is kind of less relevant now that everyone has infinite potions or just normal potions. So it wasn't really good back in the day. It's still not really that good now, but it's better than it was before. Shadow Bullet 1 to 2. I don't think Shadow Bullet's an Awakening. That's just a normal ability. Yeah, Shadow Bullet can be activated in Awakening. Never knew, like, never played Awakening since that happened, so that's good to know, I think. Before it could not be activated in Awakening. Now it can. That's it. Spirit Legacy, the big skill that we all play with, the Spirit Bomb, we all know. Improved to combo more smoothly into another skill. So basically, when you shift right click, that's what it looks like. So apparently, I guess it flows into, flows like smoother, I guess. I always thought it was fine, but I guess people thought it was clunky, and now it's less clunky. Spirit Hunt is the skill you use to basically transition from Awakening to non, or actually non or Awakening, yeah. One to the other, basically. Spirit Legacy, or where is it? Spirit Hunt. Where is it? I don't think that's a Awakening ability. That's just normal. Where is it? It might actually... Yeah, it is Awakening. Yeah, there it is. So basically, if you're in here, or like, let's say you're in main hand, and you want to switch to Awakening, you do that. Spirit Hunt, now you're in Awakening. So what did they change with it? They didn't really change anything. So you see how, look at the attack damage? It went from ×4 to ×5. That's it. Dark Nebula is not really a skill that I had back in the day, but it's over here, your Shift Q. It looks really cool, and basically they... Okay, so how do I... You see like the attack 1 and attack 2 damage, right? So before, it was on the first hit you do ×6, and the second hit ×4. That was what it was previously. Now they're both ×5. So whether that's good or not, I have no idea. Probably. Actually, no, I don't know. That sounds like a nerf, even though it's not, because most of the time you want the first hit to do damage more than the second one, but it really is a cool skill. And I think if Succession had it, that would be pretty sweet. But yeah, Dark Nebula. I've never really played around with it too much, but that's what it looks like. The Flow Bombardment is what we changed the motions to be more natural when comboing with another skill or using it forward. Basically, it's smoother, in theory. Next is the Dusk Hallucination. Dusk. Changed to a basic passive effect of Dusk 1 and 2. Okay. I don't really know what to say about that one. It's just something every Dark Knight uses. The Cluster of Despair made the following improvements: increased attack range, can be comboed with certain skills, improved the combos to be more fluid. So basically, Cluster of Despair is now a different picture. It's like the same thing, but a different picture. So what it looks like is that. It looks cool. I don't think it's one of those useful skills, but it's cool. I think that's it. I know Awakening didn't really get too many changes, but they did get some new skills as well. So yeah, that's Awakening, and let me show you my add-ons real quick. So most of it, if you watch the Succession video, it's mostly the same with like one change. So here's what we have. If you just want to take a screenshot, there you go. The only difference is instead of Spirit Legacy, we used, or like in the Succession one, we used Spirit Legacy. And here we chose Shattering Darkness because it added a new flow. It's something I wanted to try out for a bit. But for the most part, all these skill add-on effects are the same. There are a lot of skills you use that are like important, high, heavy hitters, like Wheel of Fortune, Enforcement, Lunacy of Vidir. But with Awakening, you have a few more, like Shattering Darkness is a pretty big one. Seed of Catastrophe is also a big one. I've seen people use Spirit Hunt instead. So if there's anything you could swap out, there's like Airstrike. You don't really like need it. It's important, but it's changeable. Same with Pervasive Darkness. So that's pretty much the add-ons I chose. What else is there? Let's see. In terms of everything else, it's mostly the same, but this time you have 2 bars. And like one thing I did notice was, like, for example, if you saw the Succession one, so this is the normal Wheel of Fortune. Look at that range, right? It's a smaller circle. In Succession, it's just a bigger circle. So I kind of like the Succession one more, to be honest. And then there's Airstrike. They still have that too with the flow. Both Awakening, I guess it's a main thing, so both Awakening and Succession have the Vidir Strike. That's pretty sweet to have. I do have to say, I think the only real downside for Awakening is you need a lot more skill points than Succession does. But like here, let me show you, for example. See how I'm at 20 left out of 2731, and I still don't have max Corrupt Ground, which ultimately, again, you don't need it. But if I was playing Succession, I would have 300 extra skill points left over. So that's the difference. Another thing I guess you have to really worry about is this thing is like the Overlord is a little bit different. It's not really different. It's just, so I don't know why they didn't just make it the same thing. So 30-second Overlord buff, whereas Succession, you would have Prime Spirit, which is like the same thing, but I wish they just kept it one picture so it's just easier for the people who like to play both abilities, or Succession and Awakening. But yeah, overall, pretty good. I think most of this is pretty awesome. Good changes. I still have not tested whether Awakening or Succession does more. I think if you're trying to really min-max, Awakening probably does a little bit more, but both of them are more or less equal now, and I think that's good. So one is, like, Awakening, I would say, is a little bit safer than Succession, just because you have the ranged abilities like that, and you could just, like, attack enemies from afar, just pick off stragglers in war, or just like in a 1v1, you won't get grabbed as easily. So that's the advantages of playing Awakening. You're safer, more ranged abilities, and yeah, I guess you get to play with the good old Dark Nova ability. That's cool. I assume you just, if someone is coming towards you, you just pop that and they get like vacuumed in. So a lot of people use Trap a little bit wonky. So Trap of Vidir, you're not supposed to just lay it down and have, like, I guess you could use it in two ways, but the way I use it personally is, let's say an enemy is right here. Let's say that Christmas tree is the enemy, right? So instead of just trying to like damage him, I would just like move backwards out of it. That's like, I use it as a escape more than a damage ability. So like once I'm out there, I could just like bomb him over again. And yeah, so that's mostly it. I wish there was a target so I could actually show you. One thing you don't have in Awakening is the combo with Nocturne. Like, you have Nocturne, but it's you can't really combo it with anything. Whereas in Succession, you more or less can. So like here, you see the difference. You can only move back and forth, but then here you could combo it with another ability is the difference. Yep, I should probably quick slot that actually, because Awakening does not have that. But yeah, quick slot that. Pretty sure it's important. Oh yeah, in terms of your Rabam skills, so ultimately these aren't as important. They're nice to have, but the way I choose things is whether they have like the different either more damage if they don't have a guard on it. So like for example this one, I think I like Shadow Strike more just because it helps in PvE. And so for example, let's say you see that tree all the way over there, right? That's an enemy. And then like you're grinding and trying to pull enemies in a circle, like you have enemies running towards you, you could just do that, pick the enemies and just tag them so they can come over here and then group them up easier. Obsidian Blaze versus Unveiled Fate. Ultimately, these are both kind of garbage. I choose Obsidian Blaze because it has super armor. That's it. I don't care about the damage, and this takes too long. This has floating, but this one has super armor, and I value armors more. I also use that in Succession as well. So, well, all of these, I guess, are the same thing as I would use in Succession. So, Slanted Slash versus Balanced Strike. One gives a forward guard and one gives invincibility. The difference is one is a 14-second cooldown, one is 35. I don't really use Slanted Balance or Balanced Strike in the way that like normal people do. I should probably change up some of those settings real quick. And where is it? Nocturne. Probably get rid of that one. There you go. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. This is what it's what my preset would look like. In terms of gear, it's mostly the same. If you watch, I say this a lot, but if you watch the Succession video, it's the same. Here are my crystals, once again, just in case you're new. Both my Kudum and Nuver have the same crystals. One thing I would think about changing is if you're looking for new crystals in your Nuver or offhand Nuver, I would probably choose the Ignore, Knockdown, and Bound Resistance because DKs are squishy, and the second you get knocked down generally is when things go wrong. So yeah, that's something I would think about picking up. You are trading off quite a bit of damage for the chance of not getting like CC'd, so it's up to you. Otherwise, if you still have Corrupt Crystals and like it, it is actually quite a bit of damage bonus. So if you have it and you're fine with it, just keep that. It's not a big deal. Plus, you can't really buy the new Jin ones yet because they're kind of new and people like have to make it themselves. So, yeah, overall, I do believe that DR both ways is still the way to go. However, I do wish evasion was more of a thing for Dark Knights. It would be nicer just because you're already like a mobile class and you're just not, in theory, not getting caught. So just evading more stuff would be nice. Now that you are playing Awakening, your Vedian is pretty important, so it's one of those things you have to think about. And most of the time, I guess, I don't know, for Dark Knights is a little different. You are on both bars, or like main hand and Awakening, like equally, I guess. So in terms of gear progression, unless you want to Capris everything, I think you should probably just go. If you are like main Awakening, I think I would just go double black stars. If you are Succession, Zarka is also fine just because like you don't really need a Capris, both of them, or like in theory at the end of the day you do want like double pen black stars, but getting that is the problem. So if you're like a mid-tier player and you're wondering Zarka or a black star, if you're Succession, it doesn't really matter. Also because it's a little bit different for me because I had my pen Zarka before Black Stars even came out, so I didn't really feel a need to like swap over for like minimal grinding changes. Plus now I have Capris 13 in my Zarka, and to remove all those Capris would actually be a lot of silver. But they are having a new event next week on the 29th of December where extracting Capris would be 1 silver instead of like 100k each, which is pretty nice. I'm thinking about it, but I don't know. That's about, if I were to extract all the Capris from here, that's like 6 AP lost. But I don't know, like extracting it later on down the road might be a pretty sketch. So I don't know, I'll have to think about that. But yeah, in terms of other crystals, for the most part, I would just use the same thing for both Awakening and Succession. The only thing that you could probably think of changing are the offhand crystals. If you don't like Corrupt, you could get the Resistance ones. And for your Awakening weapon or your Vedian, if you don't have the Fiery Garmoth one, basically you just take out the RBF crystals, put the Hooms in the shoes, so you get the 4-piece there, and that's it. You just have 2 less crystals. Let me see, actually, our Garmoth, can you even buy a Garmoth now? Ooh, that's not good. Oh my god, it's a lot. Right. Well, good luck getting that if you don't have it already. I'm sure they'll like have some sort of event where you get double Garmoth spawns at some point. But until then, just put an order. Hope you get it. Good luck. Other than that, like there's other ways that are not as efficient. So as you guys know, if you do the Stormbringer Kuranda, you can get the Heart of Kuranda. Basically, it's the same thing, except it only gives you 1 crystal slot instead of 2, except you don't spend 8 billion silver, which is always nice. So that's an alternative temporarily. You still get the crit damage as well, and 1 crystal slot. So yeah, every time Kuranda comes up, especially if it's Stormbringer, just go to it. I'm pretty sure the drop rate is pretty high because I have 3 of them for some reason, but I've never once gotten a Vel's Heart. I've never once gotten a Garmoth's Heart. I've had to buy every single one of them. So that's unlucky. But I've gotten 3 Heart of Kurandas just by leaving my boss ult at Kuranda. So, yeah, that's about it. And another thing we have, like, this one, I don't think I've seen that. Is that, when you have? I don't really understand this one. So how do you Is this still like a dead thing? Or does this only work when you're grinding somewhere? Because that's kind of weird. I've never used that before. But yeah, I think that's about it. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Watch the Succession video if that interests you. Here's the Awakening one. And give me about like a week or a few days. I'll do some RBS. Maybe if your guild needs some mercs in war, just hit me up on Discord. And yeah, so I could test them out, make some videos, and let you know in like a week or so how I think they do. But until then, I think for the most part, I am going to go back to Succession. Because I like that. Also, oh my god. Hold up. There's one thing I do have to check. Succession. Like, I've never actually messed around with this since this happened. Do I get to keep my add-on? Oh my god, dude. I have to keep switching my add-ons. Oh god. Why does this happen? Anyway, so it doesn't matter. I have my skills memorized. The only difference, the reason why I like Succession more is just, one, remember how we had 20 skill points and not maxed out? But with Succession, we have like 300 points left over and maxed out. So that's about it. Also, Wheel of Fortune range got increased. Ooh, that's a huge circle. I like that. I'm going to test it out for PvE and PvP, I guess, a little bit later. But that's it. So I'll see you guys later. Gotta go fix my add-ons again. So, yep, I'll see you guys in a bit.